In a small peaceful town, there is a coffee shop named Riverside Coffee where people come not only to enjoy coffee but also to seek comfort, share, and connect. The manager of the shop, Sarah, is a 35-year-old woman with a warm heart and a deep dedication to her work. Unlike many people her age who dream of working in big cities, Sarah loves her job at Riverside Coffee and especially gives special attention to the military community in the town. Sarah's father is a veteran, a resilient soldier who went through years of hardship in the military. From her father's stories, Sarah gained a better understanding of the challenges veterans face when returning from the battlefield, the invisible wounds that only they can feel. Riverside Coffee is not just a place where Sarah serves coffee, but also a place where soldiers, veterans, and those with military families can find comfort and encouragement. Sarah remembers the names of every customer, especially the veterans. She creates a friendly, warm atmosphere where everyone can find empathy and share their stories. Every week, she organizes a coffee hour for veterans where they can meet, share, and support each other. For Sarah, this is not just a job, but a mission, a way to repay those who have dedicated their lives to the country. She loves this job because it not only brings her simple joy, but also provides an opportunity for her to contribute to helping those who have sacrificed and are still sacrificing for the nation. Sarah has always believed that work is not just about earning money, but an opportunity to contribute and make a difference. Her past has taught her many lessons about the true values in life. Despite having a business degree and the ability to easily find a high-paying job in the city, Sarah chose to stay in the small town, where she felt that her work mattered more than ever. Riverside Coffee has become her place of commitment, where she can do something meaningful every day. Sarah never forgets what her father went through when he returned from the battlefield. He, a veteran, witnessed things that many could not understand, and throughout that time, he struggled with emotional scars that could not be spoken of. Sleepless nights, nightmares, and feelings of loneliness weighed heavily on him. Sarah witnessed all of this, and from then on, she understood that veterans needed a place to feel welcome, where they could find empathy and share without being judged. Riverside Coffee is not just a place that sells coffee, it is an indispensable part of the community, especially for veterans. Located near a military base, the coffee shop has become an ideal place for veterans to temporarily forget the difficulties of life after war. They come here to drink coffee, chat, and more importantly, to regain the feeling of being heard and cared for. Sarah has a special way of taking care of each of her customers. She always remembers everyone's name, knows their preferences, and creates a comfortable, friendly atmosphere. Particularly for veterans with service dogs, Sarah pays even more attention. She understands that these dogs are not just pets, but companions, their soulmates who help them overcome anxiety and stress in everyday life. She always strives to create a safe space where veterans and their service dogs can feel free and comfortable. Every Wednesday morning, Sarah organizes a special gathering that she calls the Veterans Coffee Hour. Initially, only a few people attended, but over time, it became a familiar meeting for more than 20 veterans. They come from various places with different stories, but they all have one thing in common. They are people who fought for the country and are now trying to find peace in their souls. The meeting is not just an opportunity to drink coffee, but also a place where they share their burdens and the difficulties they face when returning from the battlefield. Sarah is not just a coffee server. She is a friend, a companion, someone whom veterans can trust and turn to when they need someone to talk to. The stories they share, the happy and sad memories of military life, the fallen comrades, all are listened to by Sarah with deep empathy. She understands that for veterans, having someone ready to listen is an incredibly valuable thing. She always reminds herself that her job at Riverside Coffee is not just an ordinary job, but a mission. This is where she can do something truly meaningful. It's not about important meetings, not about business contracts, but about the small moments in the day when she can create a bit of warmth, a bit of comfort for those who have sacrificed so much for the country. For Sarah, that is the real value of work, the way she contributes to building a strong, united community full of kindness. Everything at Riverside Coffee had been running smoothly until one particular Wednesday morning when an unexpected event occurred, completely changing Sarah's life. The day was clear and warm, and as usual, the old soldiers and veterans gathered at the shop to participate in the Veterans Coffee Hour. One of the regulars was Jack, a veteran who had never missed a meeting for years. Every morning, Jack came with his support dog, Max, a large and loyal brown German Shepherd. Max was not only a special friend, but also helped Jack overcome nightmares and panic attacks caused by PTSD after returning from the battlefield. Sarah always felt happy seeing Max walk in with Jack. Every morning she would greet them with a smile, ready to prepare Jack's black coffee as he liked, and sometimes joke with Max. The coffee shop was always cozy and filled with laughter, especially when the veterans shared funny and touching stories. That day, everything went on as usual until a stranger walked in. He was Mr. Thompson, a health inspector from the city assigned to inspect businesses in the area. He appeared stern and showed no sign of friendliness. Accompanying him was another staff member, someone with a cold demeanor who seemed uninterested in what was happening around them. When Mr. Thompson entered the shop, his gaze immediately locked on Max. A faint grunt escaped him as he saw Max standing next to Jack, wearing the typical vest of a service dog. While other customers continued drinking their coffee and chatting, Sarah sensed the atmosphere change. Mr. Thompson had his eyes on Max and couldn't hide his discomfort. "There can be dogs in this coffee shop," Mr. Thompson said, his voice loud enough to stop all conversations. Every eye turned toward him. Despite being surprised, Sarah remained calm and walked over to him. "Sir, Max is a service dog, and under the ADA law, service dogs, like Max, are allowed in food service establishments," Sarah replied, her voice firm but respectful. She had worked with veterans for many years and was well aware of their rights. She didn't want to let injustice occur, especially to those who had given their lives for the country. Mr. Thompson, refusing to listen, grew angry. "I don't care about any laws. Either this dog leaves or I'll shut this coffee shop down immediately." The entire shop fell silent, and people exchanged worried glances. Jack stood frozen, his face slowly turning pale as he heard Mr. Thompson's words. He bent down without saying anything, but Max, the intelligent dog, sensed his owner's anxiety and walked over, nudging Jack's hand to comfort him. Sarah felt a storm rising in her heart. She knew that if she didn't stand up, Jack would have to endure this humiliation, and it would deeply hurt him. But if she protested, she might lose her job, and Riverside Coffee could be shut down. However, Sarah couldn't stay silent. She took a deep breath and looked Mr. Thompson straight in the eye. "I can't let you do that. This is a legal right. Max is Jack's service dog. If you must close the shop, I will stand to protect their rights," Sarah said, her voice unwavering and decisive. The area manager, who was also present, looked confused, glancing between Sarah and Mr. Thompson, but didn't dare intervene. A few customers in the shop quietly stood up, observing the situation. At this point, Sarah couldn't back down. "I'm sorry, Sarah," the area manager said coldly. "If you don't apologize and comply with the request, you will be fired." Sarah looked around the coffee shop, the place she had been devoted to for 6 years, the memories, the familiar faces of the veterans, and the warm conversations with them flashed in her mind. She might not change Mr. Thompson's rule, but she knew she had to stand up for what was right. She took off her apron and walked out of the shop, her heart heavy but filled with pride. A new chapter in her life had begun. A new chapter in her life had begun, As Sarah turned to leave, suddenly an unexpected sound filled the air. It was the sound of multiple car engines approaching the coffee shop. As Sarah stepped out the door, she couldn't believe her eyes. The parking lot was filled with soldiers in uniform, and at the front of the group was Colonel Michael Parker, the commander of the nearby military base. Sarah stood frozen, her heart racing, as she watched a line of military and civilian vehicles fill the parking lot. Before she could fully process what was happening, she saw a group of soldiers in uniform moving towards the cafe. They walked in a straight line, their demeanor serious yet filled with determination. She stood motionless, feeling dizzy for a moment. No way, why are they here? But as she looked closer, she realized that the person leading them was Colonel Michael Parker. She couldn't be mistaken. Colonel Parker was the one who had led many major military campaigns and was in charge of a service dog training program for veterans at the nearby military base. Sarah didn't know why he was here, but she felt an overwhelming energy from his presence. Colonel Parker led the group of soldiers, stepping toward the cafe with purpose. As they neared, Sarah could feel the gravity in their every step. The soldiers looked at her, none with cold or distant gazes. They seemed to understand that something very important was happening here. As Colonel Parker approached the door, he looked straight at Sarah, his eyes steady and warm. "Sarah, right?" he asked, his voice deep and commanding. "I'm Michael Parker. We need to talk." Sarah felt a moment of confusion, but she nodded firmly. "Yes, I'm Sarah. I'm not sure why you're here, but I'm truly grateful." Colonel Parker didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned to Mr. Thompson, who stood not far away, looking somewhat awkward and hesitant. Colonel Parker walked toward him, his gaze seeming to pierce the tense air between the two men. "We need to talk about the veterans and their rights," Colonel Parker said, calmly but with authority. "Mr. Thompson, I think we need to have a conversation about what just happened here." The cafe fell silent, and everyone watched. Sarah stood aside, feeling as if the world around her was changing by the second, not just because of Colonel Parker's presence, but because of how he was standing up for her and people like Jack, veterans who had given their lives for the country. The soldiers stood around her, saying nothing, but their eyes were filled with agreement and respect. Some had been to Riverside Coffee and knew Sarah well. They understood that she wasn't just a coffee shop manager, but someone who had dedicated her heart to the veteran community, someone who had stood up for what was right, even in the face of great loss. Colonel Parker turned back to face Sarah. "Sarah, I've heard so much about the incredible work you've done for the veterans. I'm here today not to do anything else but stand by your side. I've seen what you've done for the community, and I believe you're the person we need to take on a much bigger job." Sarah could hardly believe her ears. "A bigger job?" she asked, still not fully understanding what was going on. Colonel Parker smiled gently. "We're looking for someone like you to run a new program at the base, a program to help veterans find peace in their lives, just like what you've done at Riverside Coffee. We need you, Sarah." Sarah felt like everything she had ever done was finally being recognized. A wave of pride flooded her heart. She hadn't just stood up for what was right. Now, she had the opportunity to change the lives of thousands of veterans, helping them find the light in their lives after sacrificing so much. Colonel Parker continued, "If you agree, we'll invite you to join the program, to run and develop it, to help even more people. And I want you to know that Riverside Coffee will always be a part of this story." Sarah looked at him with tear-filled eyes, but she couldn't hold back a joyful smile. She knew that the decision she had made today not only changed her life, but would change the lives of many others. Sarah stood frozen, unable to believe the offer that Colonel Michael Parker had just made. She could feel the warmth in his gaze, but she was also overwhelmed by how quickly her life was changing. What she had done was simply to protect the rights of Jack and Max, But now, that small act had opened up a huge opportunity that she could never have imagined. Colonel Parker looked at Sarah, his eyes full of seriousness, but also with a deep sense of empathy. We really need the people who understand and appreciate the value of veterans like you. We've started a special program to support veterans struggling with life after leaving the military. This program needs people with a big heart and experience like yours to help them find peace again. Sarah felt her heart beating faster. This program seemed like an opportunity she couldn't pass up. She had worked closely with veterans for a long time, and Riverside Coffee was where she truly understood the pain and invisible scars they carried from the battlefield. But working on such a large program seemed like a huge leap for her. "But what would I need to do?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly with the unfamiliarity of it all. Colonel Parker smiled, his eyes shining with confidence in her. "You'll run this program at the base. You'll be the one connecting organizations, experts, and veterans, helping them overcome their struggles and start new lives. You'll help develop the service dog program, organize meetings like your Veterans Coffee Hour, but on a much larger scale." Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. She wouldn't just be helping a few people anymore, she could change an entire community, offering new opportunities for thousands of veterans. It all seemed like a dream, but it was a dream coming to her in such a real way. Colonel Parker continued, "I understand this is a big step, Sarah. But I believe you're the right person to do this. You've stood up for what's right, and now is the time for you to truly make a difference for the veteran community." At that moment, Sarah's emotions overflowed. Over the years, she had stood firm in life, fought to do what was right, and now she had the chance to do something bigger, not just stand up for the soldiers, but lead and help them as they reintegrated into society. At this moment, Sarah no longer felt anxious. She knew she was ready for this new challenge. "I agree," Sarah said, her voice strong and confident. "I will do this." Colonel Parker patted her shoulder, his eyes filled with trust. "I know you will do great. Together, we'll change the lives of these veterans and help them find the light in their lives again." As Sarah looked around, she saw the soldiers standing around her, all smiling in support. She felt that she was no longer alone. This was not just an opportunity to change her own life, but a chance to help thousands of others, those who had sacrificed so much to protect the country. With a sense of hope overflowing in her heart, Sarah knew that her life would never be the same again. She was ready to embark on a new journey, one full of challenges but also immense potential, to change the lives of veterans and those who needed to be heard, supported, and helped. Sarah couldn't believe that just one day had passed, and her life had completely changed. From being a manager of a small coffee shop, she had now become the leader of a veteran support program. This program not only helped soldiers reintegrate into civilian life, but also gave them a new opportunity to find peace in their hearts. On her first day at the military base, Sarah felt both nervous and excited. She was taken to a large conference room where a group of psychological experts, service dog trainers, and other veterans were gathered. Colonel Parker introduced her to everyone, and Sarah could feel the high expectations they had for her. Although she wasn't an expert in psychology or dog training, Sarah understood that she brought the most important thing: passion and a deep understanding of the struggle veterans faced. From the very first meetings, Sarah saw the difference she could make. She began organizing regular meetings for the veterans, not just to give them a chance to share, but also to help them rebuild their relationships with each other, just like she had done at Riverside Coffee. At the first meeting, only a few veterans attended, but soon the number of participants grew. They came not only to hear the stories, but also to feel the comfort, empathy, and, above all, the respect they deserved. Sarah also developed the Service Dog Training Program, partnering with organizations that specialized in training dogs for veterans. Max, Jack's support dog, became the role model for other dogs. The training program not only made the veterans feel safer, but also created a sense of responsibility and a strong bond between them and their dogs. The service dogs became essential companions, helping veterans overcome panic attacks, nightmares, and negative emotions they had to face. Alongside the team of experts, Sarah organized psychological training sessions to help the veterans learn to manage their emotions, communicate with their families and communities, and, most importantly, face the painful memories of the past. These therapeutic programs helped many soldiers recover and find peace in their hearts. One of the most memorable moments was when Jack, Sarah's close friend and a veteran who had once been very closed off, was finally able to share his story about his early days in the military. His story about the battles he fought, the comrades he lost, left everyone in the room silent. It wasn't just a story, it was a huge step in Jack's recovery journey. He had found his voice again, something he thought he had lost forever. Gradually, Sarah began to feel the changes within herself. She was no longer just the manager of Riverside Coffee, she had become an important part of the lives of these veterans. She realized that she wasn't just helping them overcome their struggles, she was helping them rediscover meaning in their lives. She saw small but profound changes in each of them, from the look in their eyes to the smiles they shared. One day, while sitting with the group of veterans in the meeting room, an old soldier shared, "Thank you, Sarah. Because of you, we've found things we thought we had lost. Not just for us, but for our loved ones too. We've been able to live true to ourselves." That thank you brought tears to Sarah's eyes. She had been able to change the lives of these soldiers, helping them overcome the darkness in their souls and step into the light. From the very first day she stood up to protect Jack's rights to now, Sarah had come a long way. She had not only helped others, but she had also helped herself find confidence and faith in the path she had chosen. Riverside Coffee was now more than just a coffee shop. It had become a symbol of recovery, resilience, and love for those who had sacrificed for the country. Sarah had gone from being a coffee shop manager to the leader of a veteran support program, and her journey was far from over. But she knew that with love and courage, she would always find a way to change the world around her. Gradually, what Sarah had built began to become a model for other communities. The veteran support program she led not only succeeded at the nearby military base, but also gained recognition from many other facilities across the country. Veterans found hope, comfort, and most importantly, the connection they had long been searching for. They were no longer alone on their recovery journey, and that was the greatest gift Sarah could offer them. Every day at the base, Sarah continued working hard, but she knew that her journey wasn't just about helping the veterans overcome their painful memories, it was also about helping them reclaim the life they deserved to live. From small meetings, the program had now expanded, and each veteran who joined brought their own unique story, but they all shared one thing in common: strength, resilience, and the courage to face their past. The conversations Sarah organized became a space not only for veterans to share their stories, but also for them to learn to accept themselves, love themselves, and find new goals in life. The service dogs they cared for helped them not only get through the dark days, but also find peace within themselves. One of the most emotional moments for Sarah was when she saw Jack, the man she had first helped, now able to openly talk with other soldiers about his past without hesitation. He was no longer the closed-off soldier, but a person who shared and inspired others with his story. This was the clearest proof of the power of understanding and love. Sarah remembered the first day she stood up to defend Jack and Max at Riverside Coffee, when she didn't know whether she would pay the price of losing her beloved job for her actions. But now she realized that it was that decision that opened the door to a new journey, one she never imagined, but one filled with meaning. She had also learned an important lesson from her father, who had taught her that sometimes in life we must stand up for what's right, even though we may face difficulties. What she had done wasn't just about protecting the rights of one veteran, it was about standing up for the values she believed in. And that had created a change not just for herself, but for so many others. Sarah's story inspired thousands of people. Her small action, standing up to protect someone else's rights, not only changed her life, but also opened a new path for soldiers, for those who had sacrificed to protect the country. From the darkest moments, Sarah helped them find the light once again. For Sarah, this story was not just about her or the veterans, but about sacrifice, courage, and the power of love. She learned that sometimes the toughest decisions can lead to the most significant changes, and each of us can make a difference by standing up for what is right and always having faith in the path we have chosen. Sarah stood looking at the wall at Riverside Coffee, where photographs of veterans and their service dogs were displayed. The central photo was of her father, with a small plaque reading, "All who have served, whether on 2 legs or 4, are welcome." It was a reminder to everyone that soldiers, whether human or canine, deserve love and respect. She never imagined that a simple act, like defending a veteran and his dog, would bring such profound changes to her life. From being a regular coffee shop manager, she had become the leader of an important program, helping thousands of veterans find peace and happiness in their lives. Reflecting on her journey, Sarah knew that what she had achieved was not by chance. It all stemmed from the decision to stand up for what was right, from protecting the rights of soldiers and their dogs to facing challenges head-on. Those challenges had helped her grow and discover her true mission in life. She remembered the first meetings with the veterans, those who had once felt abandoned and alone. Now they could share their stories, regain confidence in themselves, and rebuild their relationships with family and friends. And in all those stories, Sarah knew she had done the right thing. She was no longer just a coffee shop manager, she was a leader, an inspiration to those who had sacrificed and were still sacrificing for the country. Sarah had proven that when you stand up for what is right, the people who matter will stand with you. She had and would continue her journey, knowing that every day she could make a difference in the lives of veterans and those in need of support.